being in your authentic self, to feeling open-hearted. These are all the different words when the nervous system is regulated. So there's a story. I wrote 7 stories to show how you work the change triangle, or how I worked it in sessions. And I write stories about myself and how I work it in daily life. So there's a story about Fran. And Fran came to me because she was feeling sort of a shift in her just sense of self. She was a confident career woman, never much cared about getting married or having relationships, and all of a sudden started to feel lonely later in life. And as we started to work together, I began to see the ways that she was avoiding kind of connection with me. And it would be subtle ways where she would avoid eye contact, or she would change the subject when something got a little intimate. And a particular example is she was sharing something about feeling increasingly lonely when she started to tear up. I could see water welling up in her eyes. And that's my cue, where I would say, Fran, I'm interested in everything that you're saying. And I also notice that your eyes are filling up with tears. And that's just so important. I don't want to blow past this feeling. So I'm wondering if we could just slow way, way down and just honor what's coming up for a moment, whatever feels right for you. So what happened next, so it's not what, as a therapist, it's not what the intervention, but then you watch for what happens next, and that informs the next intervention. So what she did was just change the subject. It's like she didn't even hear me. And that happens a lot. I'm sure many of the people listening can relate to that. And as an analyst, I kind of used to just let that go. But as an AEDP therapist, and the sort of skill here is I don't want to let that go. Or in this case, I didn't. There may be cases where I will for particular reasons, but really my goal is not to let that go. But I also don't want to shame her. I don't want to embarrass her. So, that's the delicacy. So the intervention would be something like this. I'd let her talk for a little while, and I'd say, I'm glad you're sharing that with me. And did you notice, if we rewind just a little bit, how I asked you, I just noticed out loud the tears in your eyes, and then you just changed the subject. Did you notice that? And just to get curious. And in this case, she said yes. And for her and for other people, I would say, would it be okay if we rewind to right before that happened? Can you share, or do you know what sort of happened right before you moved away? Because we're trying to now bring out something that isn't conscious about what she does with her feelings. Mm-hmm. And again, the goal is to get to feelings, because feelings are the fastest way that I know how to really help someone alleviate their depression, their anxiety. Really, most diagnoses in the DSM-4 have some relationship that if you help people feel emotions, they feel better and the symptoms go away. So not everything, but most, in my experience. So then what happened is she basically said, I don't want to go there. And I said, okay, it's just, and I affirmed. We do a lot of affirming of what's right in AEDP therapy. So I said, you know what, it's great just that you noticed you moved away. And then I pushed a little bit more. I said, would it be okay if together we started to notice the ways if that happens again? And that was my only goal. Yeah.
How long had you been working with her when this happened?
Well, this I would do from the very first session in general.
Okay.
Soon she comes in, I am modeling AEDP. I don't take a history right away. I get a little history over the phone, enough to know if I think that it makes sense for me to work with this person. And, versus referring to a psychiatrist or something like that. The person has to be stable enough to be able to do this kind of work. But not, totally stable, like right on, I just want a psychiatrist on board. And then from the get-go, we are going to be doing this. So this could happen like